In the shadowed heart of medieval Europe, pacts were not always sealed with wax, but with blood. They were whispers in torchlit halls, rumors of oaths that bound men together in a silence deeper than the grave. Welcome to Echoes of Time. We are taught that the medieval world was one of order, governed by the rigid hierarchies of the crown and the cross. But beneath this veneer of absolute authority, another world existed. A world of secrets, of clandestine gatherings and esoteric brotherhoods operating in the margins of society. These were the secret societies, enigmatic organizations whose very existence posed a threat to the established powers. The legends that surround them speak of forbidden knowledge, of immense wealth, and of rituals that defied the laws of God and man. At the core of these legends lies the chilling concept of the blood covenant, an unbreakable vow believed to be sanctified by the literal sharing of blood. But were these shadowy orders the powerful, subversive forces that chronicles suggest, or were they merely the fevered imaginations of a deeply superstitious age? The line between history and hysteria is thin, woven into a tapestry of fear and persecution. From the legendary Knights Templar, a military order whose power grew to rival that of kings, to lesser-known fraternities spoken of only in hushed tones, the medieval landscape was rife with whispers of men bound by oaths that superseded all others. In an era where deviation from religious dogma was heresy, punishable by fire, any group that prized secrecy was an object of intense suspicion. They were a void in the map of control, a dark corner where the light of authority could not reach. This fear, this dread of the unknown conspiracy, fueled a paranoia that swept across the continent, leaving a legacy of legends that blurs the line between the plausible and the fantastic. The great challenge in peering into this world is the silence of its members. True secret societies, by their very nature, leave few records. They do not publish manifestos or keep minutes. Their history is an oral one, passed from initiate to initiate and buried with them when they died. So how do we know of them at all? The answer, paradoxically, lies in the records of their enemies. Our primary window into these forbidden circles comes from the meticulous documentation of the Inquisition and other royal courts. These are not journals of members, but transcripts of confessions, often extracted under the unimaginable duress of torture. Imagine a cold stone chamber, the air thick with the smell of fear and damp earth. A scribe sits with ink and quill, his pen scratching out a testimony given by a prisoner stretched on the rack. The questions are leading, designed not to uncover truth, but to confirm pre-existing fears of devil worship, of heretical rites, and of conspiracies against the state. The answers, given in agony, paint a grotesque picture of demonic pacts and obscene rituals, a picture that may reflect the terror of the institution more than the reality of the accused. These documents, preserved for centuries, are the tantalizingly scarce evidence we possess. They are a tainted wellspring of information, forcing historians to become detectives, sifting through accounts shaped by pain and propaganda to find the faintest echoes of the truth. The voices we hear are not those of the society's members, but the voices of their accusers, speaking through them. The first and most enduring theory is that these societies were exactly what their persecutors feared: powerful, well-organized, and subversive orders actively working to shape events from the shadows. In this view, the blood covenant was no mere symbol. It was the ultimate tool of allegiance, a ritual designed to create a bond stronger than loyalty to king, country, or even church. The psychological weight of such an oath, a mingling of the sacred essence of life itself, would ensure absolute secrecy and obedience. An initiate who had entered a blood pact was forever severed from the outside world, their fate inextricably linked to that of their hidden brothers. Proponents of this theory argue that in a fragmented Europe of shifting allegiances and constant political intrigue, a disciplined, secret organization could wield immense influence.
They could act as kingmakers, as intelligence networks, or as repositories of knowledge deemed too dangerous for the public, such as alchemy, astrology, or philosophical traditions from the East. The Knights Templar serve as the archetypal example. Originally a humble order of monks protecting pilgrims, they evolved into a multinational corporation with unprecedented wealth and military might, their network operating beyond the direct control of any single monarch. When King Philip the Fair of France decided to move against them in 1307, the accusations were a laundry list of heretical horrors: spitting on the cross, worshiping idols, and engaging in secret, depraved rites. While many of these charges were likely fabricated to justify the seizure of their assets, the sheer scale and efficiency of the Templar network demonstrated that such a supranational power could exist, and that it could become a threat to the established order. This theory suggests the Templars were not an anomaly, but merely the most visible example of a hidden world of clandestine power. A second, more sober perspective offers a different explanation. It posits that many of these so-called secret societies were not grand conspiracies, but something far more mundane: localized fraternal guilds, mutual aid societies, or the quiet remnants of pre-Christian traditions. In this interpretation, the secrecy was not for subversive ends, but for practical ones. A stonemason's guild, for example, would have secret signs and handshakes to protect their valuable tradecraft from outsiders. A merchant's fraternity might have private rituals to build trust and ensure contracts were honored in an age without a robust legal system. The blood covenant, in this context, might have been a highly dramatized but symbolic oath of brotherhood, a promise to support one's fellow members and their families. Furthermore, some groups may have practiced folk traditions and rituals that survived from pagan times. These practices, misunderstood by a monolithic and often intolerant church, could easily be mislabeled as demonic or heretical. A harvest ritual performed by a small rural community could be inflated by a fearful priest or a sensation-seeking chronicler into a tale of a widespread devil-worshipping cult. The medieval world was one where the supernatural was an accepted part of daily life, where belief in demons, witches, and magic was universal. In such a climate of fear, any group that met in private, spoke in its own cant, or performed unfamiliar rituals was immediately suspect. Their secrecy, intended for protection or community bonding, was instead seen as proof of their malevolence. In this view, the great conspiracies were not a hidden reality, but a phantom created by the fearful imagination of the authorities. This leads us to the third, and perhaps most cynical theory, that the very concept of the widespread, heretical secret society was a deliberately crafted propaganda tool. History is filled with examples of rulers and institutions manufacturing a threat to consolidate power, eliminate rivals, and justify persecution. The specter of a hidden network of conspirators, bound by demonic blood oaths and working to undermine the very foundations of society, is the perfect enemy. It is an enemy that is everywhere and nowhere, one that cannot be seen, but whose evil influence can be blamed for any misfortune, be it famine, plague, or political unrest. By exposing and destroying such a group, a ruler could portray themselves as the righteous defender of the faith and the protector of the people. It was a brutally effective way to suppress dissent. Any individual or group that challenged the authority of a king or bishop could be branded as a member of this hidden conspiracy, their legitimate grievances dismissed as part of a diabolical plot. This strategy allowed for the seizure of land and wealth, the silencing of political opponents, and the justification of purges. The campaign against the Templars again provides a chilling case study. Philip the Fair was deeply in debt to the order and coveted their immense wealth. By accusing them of heresy and secret demonic rituals, he not only absolved himself of his debts, but also absorbed their assets into his own treasury and eliminated a powerful political rival. The blood covenant in this scenario becomes a lurid detail invented by propagandists to horrify the public and make the charges more believable. It was a fiction designed to make the purge not just a political act, but a holy crusade against a hidden evil. For modern historians, navigating this labyrinth is a formidable task. The work involves peeling back layers of myth, propaganda, and centuries of embellishment to search for a historical core. Scholars must meticulously cross-reference the Inquisition's records with the few other surviving texts, looking for inconsistencies and patterns. They employ forensic linguistics to analyze the language of the confessions, trying to discern where the authentic voice of the accused might break through the scripted accusations of the interrogator. It is a process of distinguishing between historical reality and the specter of folklore. There is no single, simple answer. The truth is likely a complex mixture of all three theories. It is plausible that some small, genuinely subversive groups did exist, using esoteric rituals to bind their members. It is equally plausible that many more were simply fraternal organizations or folk practitioners who were tragically misunderstood. And it is undeniable that the fear of these groups was expertly manipulated by those in power for political and financial gain. The challenge lies in our inability to hear directly from the people who were part of these societies. Their secrets, whether profound or mundane, died with them. We are left to study the echoes they left behind, the distorted reflections of their world seen through the dark mirror of their persecutors. The medieval blood covenant remains one of history's most enigmatic secrets. It is a story shrouded in the fear and superstition of its time, a story whose truth is buried under layers of coerced confessions and political propaganda. We can see the power the idea held over the medieval mind, the terror it inspired in kings and popes. But the true nature of the men who swore these oaths, their ultimate aims and beliefs, remain locked in the silence of the past. The shadows of these forbidden societies stretch even into our own time, fueling modern conspiracy theories and reminding us of our enduring fascination with the hidden levers of power. We are left staring into the murk of history, asking not only what secrets were concealed by these clandestine brotherhoods, but why the very idea of them held such terrifying power. What does our fear of the unknown tell us about ourselves, and how many other truths lie buried, not by time, but by the deliberate hand of those who feared what they could not control?